Alright, folks, here we go. Phil Gallagher here. You might not have expected me in the middle of the day on a weekday. I don't blame you. I wasn't expecting me to be here either. But we ended up getting this, random. I hesitate to call it a snowstorm, because it wasn't that. But at about 10 o'clock this morning, we got a decent amount of snow by North Carolina standards, so we had to release school early. So, here I am for a midday stream. Europeans, welcome, hello. I assume this is an okay time for you. My world clock isn't very good, but I imagine you're awake right now. Anyway, Phil Gallagher here for another donation deck list. We're going to be playing 12 posts today. Our donor wished to remain anonymous, but they donated for two things. So number one was for a 12-post league. Number two was for a 12-post primer. So not during this stream, but probably later today or this weekend at some point, I will be making a sort of deep dive deck tech matchup analysis on 12 post. So what are we looking at with this build? This is an artifact mana based build of 12 post. So we have Grim Monolith and ThrabenU, you're not ThrabenU, and ThrabenU as mana accelerators. We also have Manifold Key, which lets you untap an artifact. So this makes 3 mana on its own when you use it, right? If you have Manifold Key, you untap it, and then you get to tap for 3 mana again. So effectively, that makes this tap for 5 mana, which is like, mwah, chef's kiss levels of good right there. Manifold Key really allows you to have some degenerate starts, and it lets you go just absolutely ham off a single piece of acceleration. Notably, we are a Chalice of the Void deck in this iteration. So there are going to be times where you draw a Manifold Key mid-game, and it's going to be very, very, very bad. But those are kind of few and far between. You know, there's only 2 of these, there's 4 of these. You will draw them together. That's going to happen. But a lot of times, if you made it to the mid or end game, you don't really need the Manifold Key anymore. This also has the sneaky mode of target creature can't be blocked this turn, which is really useful with some of your mid-rangey creatures like Thought-Knot-Seer and Golos. Speaking of, let's talk about my man Golos right here. So, when Golos enters the battlefield, you search for a land and put it onto the battlefield tapped. Golos is a tutor for literally whatever you need. Do you need life? Why not Golos? Do you need removal? Why not Golos? Do you need to bounce a big legendary idiot? Why not Golos? Do you need more lands? Why not Golos? So the Golos-Caracas combo doesn't really look like it's all that impressive, but considering the amount of utility you have in your lands, from just ramp to life gain to a tutor for other threats, Golos does everything, while also having a big butt. Our friend Golos here has 5 toughness. That walls out a huge percentage of the threats in Legacy right now. So something like, Bob, Dreadhorde Arcanist, basically anything out of Death and Taxes, a ton of creatures can't safely attack into this thing. And if your opponent kills it, you go, that's fine, he got me mana, and then you play one of your big stupid finishers. So the version that I'm playing is slightly different from the one that the donor sent in. The original deck list was fine, but I think it had 2 Vesuvas, random Urborg that I wasn't really a fan of, I think only 1 copy of City of Traders. So what I did was I took the donor's deck list, I took another deck list off of MTG Top 8, kind of mashed them together and made a few changes. As far as the sideboard goes, I'm not going to claim the sideboard's optimal. There's 2 things in the sideboard that I don't... Well, there's 3 things in the sideboard I don't think are 100% optimal, and that's these 3 cards. So, one of the versions that was submitted had the Emrakul in the main deck, but I'm not really convinced you need the Emrakul in the main deck. I think most of the time you can win your Game 1 scenarios via Ulamog. The reason that I've decided to put the Emrakul into the sideboard is partially because of the Breach decks. So the Breach decks that are trying to win via milling you out, you can totally catch them off guard with an Emrakul and maybe steal a game that way. And I also like it versus the control decks, where sometimes like they have an Oko in play or multiple lock pieces or something, and your Olimog isn't quite enough, but an extra turn plus something else will be. That's why I've thrown the Evercool in. I don't think this deck needs the Lion's Eye Diamond for Karn the Great Creator. I think most of the time you're going to have enough mana to do what you need to do, given the amount of ramp that you have. I'm keeping the Lion's Eye Diamond there as a concession to Grim Monolith. So if you turn 1 or 2 a Karn off of your Grim Monolith, you might not actually have enough mana to Mycosynth Lattice and win the game without a Lion's Eye Diamond. So I'm reluctantly keeping LED in there. The final thing I wanted in the sideboard was one tutorable piece for fighting combo decks in Game 1, in case hating on artifacts via Karn wasn't enough. So I opted for a Trinisphere, just a third copy of that, because that's also something that I could just hardboard in as well. I'm not sure if Trinisphere or a Thorn of Amethyst is better in this slot, though, because it's much easier to turn 1 a Thorn than it is to turn 1 a Trinisphere. So that may be a deck-building error on my part. Why not Witchbane Orb? Witchbane Orb isn't a bad suggestion either. But I think I'm going to roll with this as is. I've already borrowed the cards. Haven't you seen... Oh. If you were the streamer, I'd give you bits for that one. That was good, Merja. I enjoyed that. Yeah, we played Curses twice this week. It was super, super fun. I enjoyed it a lot. Let's jam a league here. So again, our donor wanted to remain anonymous, but nevertheless, I know who they are, and they know who they are, and I want to thank them for this donation. Always looking to play big dumb stuff on stream. Oh, we're kind of loud here. They know what they did. Yeah, that's exactly right. They enabled my content production. Good job, them. Shareboy. Unclear which it is. Is it a Shareboy? Like they like Cher? That singer? That would be kind of a random Moto username. Says the guy with an anime reference username. I don't think our hand does anything. I'm mulligan this one. Well, this hand's probably good. I'm gonna keep this. So we have a turn 3 Karn as is, and turn 2 Trinisphere. I think this is a hand where I probably pitch the All Is Dust. I don't think we're getting there super quickly, because it's pretty likely that I'm going to go and just lose my City of Traders on turn 3 to playing my Karn. My French is not good. It exists, but I have 1 year of French under my belt. Like, I'm good enough where I can read signs, like in a museum or something, but I can't really speak it. I think I'm going to go with Eldrazi Temple first. It's close between that and Glimmer Post, depending on what we want to copy. Keeping the copies in mind, I guess I'll just post. Yeah, I mean, it's so hard when you stop using a foreign language. Like, at a smaller level, my high school students, when they, like, have spring break or winter break, they get noticeably worse at the language just by not using it for that short of a period. So, when you, like, you could have years of it in like high school or college, and then stop, and it slides away way more quickly than you would like to believe. Alright, if my opponent is playing like a non-show and tell combo deck, I feel like we're in pretty good shape. It's the greatest thief in the multiverse, ThrabenU. How is ThrabenU gonna fare against my Karn? Probably not the best. He might steal my Tronosphere. That is very possible. Do I have a Spyglass in the sideboard? I don't. Do I? No. I really wish I had an Ancient Tomb right now. Because then I could threaten just the Lattice next turn. Actually, that's not true because of my own Tronosphere. Romario, I literally just started. This is the first match. So I think I'm just going to take a coating here and threaten to start blowing up my opponent's lands. So my opponent has returned their Punishing Fire. I don't know if you know it, but Punishing Fire has great synergy with ThrabenU. You can pay 1 mana using your Grove of the Burn Willows, and then return Punishing Fire to your hand, only to discard it again. Alright. So the ThrabenU will just like steal my liquid metal coating if I just go and do that, but I don't have another play for turn. So like I think that this is just what it is. And we accept that we might lose out on a little bit by taking the coating. I don't just want to minus Karn again and get another card, because then the Karn just dies to Punishing Fire. But it's very possible that this just gets countered since my opponent is holding up mana. That's Meddling Mage, that's an interesting line. Just like effectively temporarily neuter Dak via liquid metal coating. That's a bit of a risky line if they have an Abrupt Decay, though. Interesting line from my opponent. Don't have a waste, do I? I think that whole scenario goes very wrong for my opponent if I just minus that Karn that turn. I'm pretty unlikely to minus the Karn, like, given that I got the coding. But I'm not sure where the, like, risk-reward line is appropriate for that play. So, for example, if I had drawn a land that turn, I probably would have just... And I should have tapped that in response, but I was F6. So if I had drawn a land that turn that would have entered untapped, I totally would have just played the ThrabenU instead. So this would be 5 mana, 8 mana, so I can Ugin next turn. Assuming that... No, Dak is a problem with this again. Don't really want to give them a ThrabenU. So let's just copy our Eldrazi temple here. We have 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. One more soul land means that I can just cast an Ugin. Oh crap, I didn't think of that. We'll see if they think of that. Because their plan might just be turn liquid metal coating into a creature and just start turning it sideways. Does that get me there this turn? 2, 4, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No. Otherwise, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Down 2 mana. Seven. Oh, shoot, there's the Trinisphere to think about, too. Yeah, so Grim Monolith does not actually net me mana. So I guess I just need to play double mana artifact this turn, then. So my opponent will probably steal one of those, Oko the other one of those, and I don't really get far. But if we cast Azul the Ceaseless Hunger, I see us winning this game. Right, you have my Dynamo. Yeah, I'm not F6. I know that if they steal the Dynamo, or sorry, if they steal the Monolith, I have to be able to tap it in response. Opponent's got something over there they're thinking about. Drainosphere, now a dude. And opponent is digging for something. They found something they liked. Two, four, six, seven. Yeah, we're good. 2, 4, 2, 3, 1. Olamog cast this, exile 2 things. We're going to go with goodbye Oko, goodbye Dak. Alright, a Snapcaster Mage. That's fine. Target Assassin's Trophy. Okay, sure. Alright, they're going to Assassin's Trophy my Caracas, so I can't protect and bounce my Olamog. That is fair. We'll float a mana. We don't have a basic wastes. Yeah, get in there, Trinosphere. Yeah, Innistrad Revenue Service ended up with a midday snow day unexpectedly. That's super unfortunate. Opponent getting our liquid metal coating this game was super annoying. Need to play around that a little better next game. So we have 2, 4, 6, 7. With a land we can Ugin. Not that land, though. Do I have 2 Caracas? 1 Caracas. Wow, Arkin, thank you so much for the support. Hello, everyone joining from Arkin's stream. Phil Gallagher here with some 12-post action. I can Golos for something that's decent here, but my library is just gonna get mauled by this Olamog. I don't have a maze. I think this is where I throw in the towel for this game. Like, I can Golos, get an Eye of Ugin, that's too slow. I can get rid of their Dak and get rid of their Jace. But I can't beat the Ugin. I just have answers to non-colorless things. I'm gonna go ahead and throw in the towel for this one. Alright. Note to self, probably not liquid metal coating next game. Yeah, the mono black Stompy deck was actually pretty good after we put the Helms and Ley Lines in there. It was way, way better. Alright, so what do we want against this deck? The Emrakul seems fine. The Crucible seems fine. Since our opponent is Assassins trophying our lands. Trinispheres are probably good. Boarding in the Wormcoil is probably good. Yeah, super happy to be a part of, like, putting that deck on the map. Ballista would be fine to board in. Ratchet Bomb would be fine to board in. I theoretically want Karn to be able to find these two things, and maybe the Wormcoil. Just, like, Karn is my way to find a sticky threat rather than boarding this in. What don't I want? I actually feel like our deck is pretty well suited for this matchup, and that things just didn't go particularly well in that game. Because I'm looking to board, and I'm not sure that I actually really want to board much at all. My mana acceleration rocks are really awkward against Dak. I think I'm going to move this Ballista to the sideboard. Giving my opponent mana is so scary with, like, Monolith and Dynamo. So I think I'm going to cut my Dynamos. And if I cut my Dynamos, though, my Manifold Keys are, like, way worse. So maybe what I should do is cut my Manifold Keys. And just, like, accept if they take these, but probably not think that I can get this combo going off. Alright, I got a couple of followers since Arkan's host a minute ago. So Emerald000 and Juicy Brainer, question mark. Thank you very much for following. We do nothing fast here. But I think I go ahead and keep this one. We have very good inevitability. My opponent cannot kill us in a hurry. We're very, very sure of that. Love the Spyglass here. But I think I'm just going to play the Monolith this turn. Because next turn I can play Thran Dynamo into Sorcerous Spyglass on Dak. Assassin's Trophy the land, not the Monolith? Okay. That might be indicative of Force of Will. Which would be very bad for me. 1, 4, Dynamo. 3 mana, Spyglass. Wouldn't you know it, it is Dak Faden, the greatest thief in the multiverse. Alright, so we shut off Dak. I play a land. I'll pass the turn, and we'll probably Chalice on 2 in the not-too-distant future. So there goes Volk. Opponent just chooses to play out the deck anyway. So just opponent recognizing that if they remove the Spyglass at any point, this becomes very good. So I could just untap my Monolith for my turn, so I can all his dust next turn, or I can just play Trinisphere and try to eliminate shenanigans that can occur. Or I can just Chalice on 2. Because Chalice on 2 stops most of the things that stop Spyglass. I think I'm just gonna pass my turn. Passing my turn, untapping Dynamo means that I can get the 2-for-1 of Dak Faden and Jace off of all his dust. I am punished by any 2-mana card that destroys Sorcerous Spyglass. But it had to have been my opponent's 1-draw for turn. Oh, they trophied earlier, so I need to Chalice on 2. Alright, good catch, chat, good catch. I don't like that this instead is going to give them just an active Jace that they can use to shuffle back, Snap, and Punishing Fire. But it does mean that we have, like, imminent all is dust. I talk about this from time to time, but my win percentage tends to be about 10% lower on stream, just for reasons like that, where I'm, like, busy talking through lines instead of paying full attention to the game. Alright, so they top a Thought-Knots here. That is not a bad card. Sort of interesting to me that they did top that. But again, I think I'm just going to go for the all is dust on the Jace before that thing gets any more out of control. Yeah. So if I were in my opponent's position, the previous turn, I probably just would have brainstormed, if I'm being honest with you. Because you don't know what you need to keep your opponent off of. And I think I'd rather try to find something like a Culligan's Command that helps me get one of these things off the board and unlocks a bunch of my cards. That is not good for me. See if opponent plays their turn optimally. If they do, I think I'm stone cold dead. If they don't, everything's fine. Uh-oh. Yeah, they figured it out. So now I probably can't beat this assault. Like, my opponent just Okos my Grim Monolith, and then I can't really win. I also now would need to pay 2 mana to Thought-Knot Seer. And that would also cause me to tap my Grim Monolith. Life is bad. So also bad is that my opponent can now just Oko my Chalice of the Void, and then snap Assassin's Trophy my Grim Monolith or one of my lands or something like that. I do not like this. Is the way that I win by Thought-Knot Searing this turn? Drawing a land means that I can always dust next turn. Maybe I have to play towards my opponent not dealing with my Grim Monolith in this turn cycle. Alright, I'm going to do that. I'm really sad that we've had two non-functional draws. Like, our deck is all about hitting land drops, and we've just gotten stuck. Yeah, that's not great for me. Just follow up with a DAC to steal my Grim Monolith. Just do it. End me. Yeah, alright. That's the game. Like, I can pretend, but we're done. Just to kind of be critical there, I don't really know that is worth 2 of your cards. Like, maybe opponent is just totally fine with that 2-for-1 since they have Jace in play. But your Snapcaster assuredly beats the Thought-Knot Seer. Your idiots on board beat the Thought-Knot Seer. Your Jace beats the Thought-Knot Seer. Your Oko beats the Thought-Knot Seer. I think you just let me take one and keep a card. Unless their last card is just like something stupid. There we go. Alright, it's this all of dust resolves or I lose the game. That's the situation that I'm in. Yeah, with the Uro in play and just coming back, I still may just lose the game, even if the All is Dust does resolve. But I can't imagine a world where I win the game if this All is Dust is countered. Like, Uro continue... Alright. And... Yeah. Well, let's just move on there. It's Strifo, am I correct in assuming that this is a matchup where I am favored? Because I feel like my draws did not work out well for me this game. But in the past, I have like absolutely thrashed those sorts of decks. Oh, good God, you're on 4 trophies? Okay. Yeah, not gonna beat that. I am not impressed by the power level of my hand. It's turn 2 Chalice into turn 4 Karn as is, with the ability to gain a stupid amount of life. If I'm playing against Delver, this hand is like hilariously good, but I think I'm gonna mulligan this one. What does this hand do? I'm keeping it one way or another. I think I'm gonna discard my Cascading Cataracts. Let's try to do some initial damage here. Read Golos using the wonderful, wonderful Cardboard Live extension. Is opponent on Dredge? Opponent is on Dredge. So I can just Karn and get a Tormod's Crypt here this turn. That seems fine. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. Because then I can Eye of Ugin to Thought-Knot Seer next turn. Where you at? Tormod's Crypt. And I don't know if I'm actually supposed to take the Thug here. It's not bad, but my opponent can just natural discard again. But presumably, if they're discarding Thug, that means that is their Dredger. Like, they don't have a better one. So, I am going to go ahead and crack that. Take out the Thug. And my opponent can have a one-turn window to redraw a better Dredger as the top card of their deck. Otherwise, I Thought-Knot Seer, take a card out of their hand. Okay. They did. That's fine. We have Walking Ballista to get at any time. No, I do not believe that is actually correct. Wizzo Mystic in the face of Chalice of the Void on 1. Especially in a game 1 scenario. So the Thought-Knot Seer has lost some value now. Not 100%, but some value. I need to just think about winning the game. So I can go 2 mana into Grim Monolith and like set myself up for something annoying. I could put an Ensnaring Bridge into play. I could just plus so that if I draw a mana producing land, I can just Lattice Lock my opponent next turn. I don't hate that. Alright, my opponent has found a creature. Not particularly worried about that, because Karn, even after a minus, still lives through a Narcomoeba attack. A Ballista. That's cool. It's not the land that I'm looking for to just, like, auto-win the game, but it's fine. So now, how do I want to play this turn? It's just like a question of, do I actually want to tap the Grim Monolith? So I could have... like 5 mana, use 4 of it to play Dynamo, use 1 of it to Thought-Knot Seer, or Walking Ballista for 2. I could also just, like, Karn get Ensnaring Bridge now, instead of, like, focusing on winning the game with it. Do I want to minus? I don't really want to minus. Just gonna plus on nothing here. Pass the turn. And I think I'm gonna ping the Narcomoeba now. Before a bridge is flipped, and then I will save the Walking Ballista after that to remove multiple bridges from the graveyard at a crucial time. Alright, so they're really going all in on their one Stinkweed Imp here. They've hit a second, they have hit a Grave Troll. Yeah, that's not bad, but it's not great either. Am I fine with letting them convert that into a zombie? Yes. I think I am. I would rather deal with multiple bridges at the same time. So I can get Mycosynth Lattice here. So this would stop my opponent from casting anything else. And then the following turn I just get Bridge, and I think I just win from there. One, 3, 6, yeah. Minus that. Use the ability. Yes. Mycosynth Lattice. Already used Karn this turn. And that's all fine and dandy. I believe this stops Icarids from returning as well. Because these things are no longer black, is that correct? Yes. Alright, there's a Hogak in there. That's sort of interesting. Goodbye, Bridges. Alright. So now I'm minus, Ensnaring Bridge, play Thought-Knots here, GG. And my opponent is done with me. Alright. Good stuff. Alright, what do we want versus Dredge / what do we not want? This Ugin is not the greatest in this matchup for sure. Sorcerer's Spyglass has very few targets. Our Ballistas are really good. So that's easy. I probably leave the Crypt in the sideboard for Karns, but it's pretty close. I think the Trinisphere just comes in. So I need this in the board. I need this in the board. And then these three are all cards that I could reasonably board in or keep in the board. And I'm just going to have to think about my in-out numbers to figure out what I want to do with it. Because, like, the Crypt clears the graveyard. It's amazing. The Ratchet Bomb clears zombies. Walking Ballista clears bridges. So it's just a question of how much of this do I want in versus how much of this do I want the ability to tutor for. I'm going to board my Sorceress Spyglasses out for sure. They can hit Cephalid Coliseum, but otherwise they're pretty bad. And, like, equally bad when I'm on the play. These Ugins aren't great. The Olamogs, not amazing. Like, the stuff that are, like, this size are really pretty darn good threats if I've already shut down my opponent's graveyard in some capacity. Tritium, sure, but Crypt in hand means exiling the opponent's graveyard early when I otherwise might die. Like, it's an extra copy of Crypt later on in the game, not early on in the game where Dredge does the most damage to you. So it's not nearly as clear-cut as you're making it out to be. I don't know that I can go much threat lighter than this. I'm going to leave these various answers in the board. Let's submit that. Spyglass on Street Wraith. Delicious. So my opponent has mulligan to 4, to 3. So they would need, like, land answer to Leyline, Faithless Looting as a 3. Mull, we might find 3 Leylines. 3 Leylines isn't actually really better than 2 Leylines. And 2 Leylines is barely better than 1 Leyline. The reason being is that sometimes Dredge will play effects like Serenity, for example, that will just wipe all enchantments off the board at the same time. So 2 Leylines is technically better because it doesn't let something like Wear Tear or Assassin's Trophy just eliminate your hate fully. But like 3 versus 2 Leylines, there's basically no difference between those. I mean, this right here is exactly why I'm advocating so strongly for Leyline in the current format. Like, so many of the degenerate decks right now are graveyard-based. You know, your Dredge decks, your Reanimator decks, your Breach decks. Leyline's amazing. Yes, sure. Force of Vigor is an instance where, like, the 3rd Leyline would potentially be useful. Like, they exist. But those sorts of scenarios often are harder to mulligan aggressively into. So if you're aggressively mulling into Force of Vigor to beat a Leyline, you also need the green card in your hand, and that often results in the hands that you keep with Force of Vigor being pretty soft. They can beat a Leyline, but your start afterwards isn't necessarily aggressive. Contrast this to something like Reanimator mulling towards the green card that you can cast for free if you have a forest where you destroy all enchantments. That, you can just use 1 card, go off as long as you have a fetch land, and then you're good to go. Mulligan, our hand does nothing. Yeah, it's Frosty. I think you get a ton of value for playing Leyline in decks where your opponents don't expect it. Turn 1 Temple, turn 2 Trinisphere on the draw. Turn 3 Karn, losing a land. I guess I'm not happy about it, but I don't think this is worth going to 5 for. Cloud Post makes his hand noticeably better. It means that I can do a turn 2 Trinisphere without losing a land. That's beautiful. Like, super, super happy about that. Not that I necessarily expect this to resolve. Force Pitch Brain Freeze. So our opponent is on a Breach deck. We're very likely to win if we get another turn, because Karn being in play against the Breach decks, it's very good. Stopping LED recursion is huge. Dr. Bill, thank you very much for the continued support. I don't believe it's up to 22 months now. That's crazy. You are our first sub of the day, so thank you very much for that. Okay. No spells for me this turn. Only lands. Ancient Tomb seems like a fine land. Let's play that one. So no spells. That's okay. We can take that draw step stop off. Alright, can opponent go off? If no, I get Karn into Trinosphere. That's opponent's first piece of interaction that helps to sculpt their hand. So my inclination is that they probably can't go off, but they could just, like, silence us again. Silence as partial time walk is pretty strong. Man, when we get a turn, the amount of damage that I am doing to poor Suabe over there, it's huge. So my opponent shuffled off the Ponder. A good Brainstorm can potentially get them there. Alright. It appears they're going for it. They may not have it yet. This could just... Oh, no, they have the Brain Freeze. Okay, so for anyone who doesn't know how this works, what's going to happen is that my opponent is going to Brain Freeze themselves for a good portion of their library. Then they are going to use the cards that they've milled to go and fuel repeatedly playing LED. Once they repeatedly play LED, then they will go ahead and use the mana to Brain Freeze me instead. All concede once you mill yourself. So I'm just going to take a full look at their deck, and then I'm not going to make them go through the rest of the motions. No, I don't have Eldrazi that shuffle. That's in the sideboard. So just kind of looking to see if there's anything spicy or interesting. I see Defense Grid, couple of different silence effects. Alright, so they targeted me instead with that one, so I'm just going to go ahead and concede there before they see too much more on my deck. Okay. So the Emrakul, very good against them. It prevents me from getting brain freezed out. The ley lines are insane. The Tormod's Crypt is very good. I will probably just leave that in the deck. Ratchet Bomb is okay in that it can sweep goblins, but we'll already have a couple of goblin sweepers. I may end up leaving that in the board. I will bring in the Trinisphere. So this will leave me with Lattice, Coating, LED, Wormcoil, and maybe Ratchet Bomb as my sweepers. So what don't I need? Oh yeah, my opponent did have the Thassa's Oracle. We'll see if they board it out, though. Like, definitely bringing the Emrakul in to hedge for that exact scenario. So, like, I think I'll go all his dust out. I don't particularly think this is great. I don't particularly think this is great either. So I junk those, that's 62. I'll keep the Ugins and Olamogs as my primary win conditions. Olamog exiling 2 lands is pretty dumb. Does Spyglass just name fetches? Spyglass just names fetches. So that's probably not amazing. So the remaining question is, do I want to get rid of Ratchet Bomb? Sorry, do I want to bring in Ratchet Bomb? If I leave Ratchet Bomb on the board, I have a Karn answer to an empty. Ratchet Bomb can sweep any artifacts that are played out, but could have some collateral damage on my end. I guess putting it on 2 would also prevent my opponent from comboing. Plays awkwardly with my own Chalices and potentially Grim Monoliths. I'm going to leave the Ratchet Bomb on the board. I will keep this hand. So I go turn 1, Ancient Tomb, Grim Monolith. I have at least 5 mana on turn 2, 2 different cards that I can play. Or I can just Ancient Tomb, Grim Monolith into Trinisphere on 1. Either way, I'm keeping this hand. I'm gonna go ahead and YOLO this one. Alright, they did have Force Pitch Ponder. I can't currently Thought-Knot Seer on turn 2. That's okay. That's a poor draw. That is the cost of Leyline of the Void. I accept it. So we have Thought-Knot Seer as interaction on my next turn. Assuming we don't just get silenced. Or die. You can die off of very few resources in this matchup. First of Thirst, as well as Chris B9. And I think that's it. Thank you all very much for following. Alright, so let's play a Cloud Post, go up to 4 mana, and Thought-Knot Seer them. Opponent will brainstorm away their best cards. That's fine. Not good, but fine. So when you're thinking about Thought-Knot Seer in these situations, ooh, I mean, super happy to take a 2-for-1 there. Now we'll stop LED with our Chalice of the Void. And now we'll just be looking to draw a threat. We have an angle of disruption. It's pretty good. It's not amazing, but it's something. We are not running an Urborg for this scenario. I think the Urborg is too often helpful for your opponents to be good. So I think there's more scenarios where you give your opponent black fixing than like, ooh, I draw my Urborg when I happen to have Leyline in play at the same time. You know, that's my overall opinion there. We're actually going to be pretty safe, assuming our opponent doesn't combo off this turn, because we'll be able to put a Blast Zone on 2 and destroy the Underworld Breach in response to our opponent casting something. Yeah, we'll untap the Monolith. Yeah, like I've spent a lot of time playing Ancient Tomb decks, and Ancient Tomb really sucks as you go into the late game, but just an Urborg that fixes mana for your opponent, or just gets wastelanded, or makes it so your opponent can play that Vampire Hexmage when they have Dark Depths. Like, there's a lot of scenarios where Urborg just straight up loses you the game, that have made me really careful about just playing Urborg in decks that, like, really, really don't need it. Didn't even get silenced. So just to talk about my man Golos for a minute, just imagine if we draw Golos. Like, we use it to find Eye of Ugin, and, like, ta-da, we go ham. Aka109918, thank you very much for following. Hope you're enjoying this content. We're at a little bit of a standstill right now, but we have a lot of live top decks. Opponent may have, like, an Enlightened Tutor or something, and they're trying to figure out what they're going to do with it. You can also take a look at the deck list by hovering over the cards on the screen. There's the Cardboard Live extension. They're the greatest. Alright, my opponent has found an Underworld Breach. They have to use the red mana from Lotus Petal to play it as of right now. So I don't think they can go off with that through Blast Zone. So I don't think they can generate mana at instant speed. I also don't know if they have an actual answer to Blast Zone. Because I don't know if they have something that bounces a land. My gut says no. The giant pause from my opponent also tells me that life is probably pretty bad. I mean, I guess I put this in play. Not really a cost to doing so. Brain freeze targeting themselves. Okay. I guess that's the cost of playing my Manifold Key. So now they could, if they get another mana... Okay, so we can start looking at the situation where they breach and use breach to wear-tear my Chalice. So if they have a turn where they can cast breach, E-tutor, and get rid of Chalice all at the same time, that's all probably fine. Okay, not gonna do that. Things are interesting now. So they cast a breach. I'm not actually sure that we are dead. Not this turn. I may be dead next turn, potentially. But I don't think they have nearly enough Storm to just kill me with double Brain Freeze in response. But I do think I need to blow up the Blast Zone here. Oh, they can get another breach. That's interesting. Oh, we might be dead. But we should probably put the impetus on my opponent to play well. Hmm. So the other thing I can do is like let my opponent start to combo up, not knowing that we have the Emrakul. And just try to catch them based on number of cards in their graveyard. I think I just do that. They have to crack an LED for red. And Brainstorm and E-Tutor. So they can do everything. Okay, they're just gonna chain instead. Okay. So now I am dead if they have a win condition that does not rely on milling me out. So at this point, it's really about their sideboarding more than my play. Okay, their Thassa's Oracle is in the deck, so they do have a deterministic win. Womp womp. Got a touch unlucky with the draws there, but opponent did beat. They had what? I think 2 forces for Trinisphere and Thought Not Seer. Then they had Chain of Vapor for my Chalice, and they beat a removal spell for their Through the Breach. Or not Through the Breach, Underworld Breach. So that is pretty strong, all in all. There's a reason why everyone's talking about these decks. How quickly do we Goldfish in Ulamog? Turn 1 Temple, turn 2 City, and play Monolith. So it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I do not have a turn 3 Goldfish. And probably can't get it with this hand. I think I'm going to try to find something less than a CMC 10 spell with this hand. Why do you test me? I am displeased. Reluctant keep, just because I'm not happy with the idea of going to 5 win this deck. Marconimus, thank you very much for following. Do not like this hand against Underground Sea. We don't have a Chalice, we don't have a Trinisphere, we don't have a Thought Not Seer. We are definitely looking for help off the top. Yeah, we have not made this deck look good today so far. Oh, Opponent just going off. Looks like we're playing against TES, the Epic Storm. Oh, man. Echo. Echo. Yes. New hand. This hand's great if we get a turn. We probably won't, but if we do, this is gas. This is also gas. The new TES deck looks really good. I have not gotten to play it yet, but I watched one of Bryant Cook's videos and one of Vivaris's videos, and they were rather impressive. Oh my god, we got a turn. Holy moly, we got a turn. So, Thought-Knot Seer is only medium with a Wishclaw Talisman on the table, so I probably want to play Trinisphere instead this turn. I'm just going to take a minute and think to make sure I'm not making a mistake. Okay, we're going to do this in a way that doesn't really look like it gains anything, but it does gain something. We're going to play the Grim Monolith. Tap the Grim Monolith. 3, 4. Put a Dynamo into play. There's what we gain, in case you were wondering. And we use the Dynamo to cast Trinisphere. So then next turn, we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana. We will be able to Golos for Eye of Ugin, play... Never mind, we can just draw Eye of Ugin instead. Do I have a utility land for this matchup? I have Blast Zone, and Eye of Ugin is basically it. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, so I can very easily cast Thought-Knot Seer. So I guess let's do that as the first action of my turn, and then Golos appropriately based on what we see. Wishclaw Talisman, again, sort of awkward here. Oops. Forgot about my Trinisphere. That was poor. I should not have played Eye of Ugin. So in case you're wondering, the way this works with Trinisphere and Eye of Ugin is that the additions and reductions are done prior to Trinisphere. So Trinisphere setting occurs after my cost has been reduced to 2. So I can't actually do all the things. I have to pick. And because I have to pick, I should Thought-Knot Seer. Yeah, I will. I'll take that Veil of Summer, leaving my opponent with a swamp. And because I played Eye of Ugin, the one land that I wasn't supposed to play, I can't actually play my Golos this turn. Womp, womp. Small punish there on my end. I also can't use it to untap the Grim Monolith. So 100% could have played that turn better. Yeah, opponent can Ad Nauseam if they want. And that's presumably the land that they do have. So I can search my library for a card and put it into my hand for 1 mana. So I could say, like, tap this, have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mana towards Eldrazi. I could use that to All is Dust. Can also just get a Thought-Knot Seer. Regardless, I think I'm going to go ahead and attack first. All right, so let's just confirm. I have towards Eldrazi spells. I have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I can very easily cast an All is Dust. Do I have 10 though? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I do not have 10, so I can't just get a win condition this turn. Where'd it go? A for All is Dust. I guess to avoid taking Ancient Tomb damage, I should play one other card first. Glimmer Post is probably fine. To avoid taking Ancient Tomb damage. So these Wish Claws can only be activated during your turn, so my opponent can't actually use these right now. So the big question is, did my opponent get a bounce spell for Trinisphere, or did they get Adnaz? It appears that they have gotten Adnaz. No? Do I want to sacrifice a land to bounce their Chrome Mox and deny a mana source? It doesn't feel like that matters. If the last card in their hand is Adnaz, which I think is the only thing that will like straight up just beat me from this position, if they just cast Adnaz going, ooh, but it may take them off of Metalcraft. No, it wouldn't, because if they needed the mana, they could just replay Chrome Mox without imprinting, and then they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that way with a mana left over. So, my opponent didn't double Chain of Vapor this turn. They could have Chain of Vapored their own Wishclaw Talisman, then sacked a land to Chain of Vapor my... No, if I Chain of Vapor again, they get to Chain of Vapor my Thought-Knot Seer back. I'm going to let that go. I'm going to try not to overthink this situation too much here. I just want to throw it out there. My playing that Eye of Ugin earlier and not getting my Golos into play was so huge. Because if, like, I could have done 6 more damage to my opponent, making the ad naus lines way worse. So this is just Infernal Tutor for empty to buy time. That's fine. Wow, Infernal Tutor pet. Okay. So they didn't have a deterministic line. They had to pass the turn, realized I had Trinisphere, and conceded to that. This is the part of sideboarding where Phil says, hey, Leyline's good. Let's play Leyline. Julian, welcome! I'm happy that I'm streaming earlier so you can actually catch it for a change. Alright, Leylines are good. Crypt is kind of whatever. Okay, pause. Me saying Leylines are good specifically refers to the Echo-based lines. Against older versions of TES, the Graveyard Hate is not nearly as good. So the Trinisphere obviously is going to be pretty great. The Ratchet Bomb is fine. I will probably board it in. It mucks with their artifact-based mana, which there's a lot more of it than you might think if you're not familiar with the deck, and it also gives you an out to goblins. I think I'll leave the Tormod's Crypt in the sideboard as a wish target for Karn, though, and probably not board in anything else. Spyglass is fine for Wishclaw Talisman. I'll probably keep that. Walking Ballista is very much not good. We'll cut that. Chalice is great. Some of our top end can probably go. I'll probably junk my Ugins as the starting point. I can probably cut a land pretty safely. Like we can junk the Caracas. I can probably cut one more win condition safely. Probably an Ugin. Like we can finish the game with one of these or a Karn just fine. And then, since our early mana is going to go towards playing hate pieces, I think I'm going to cut a Manifold Key. Oh, Julian, by the way, never posted a thank you, but very much appreciate the postcard, my friend. Super awesome gift from Julian. Very pleased. Very happy to be a part of the Legacy Premier League. Yes. Keep. We'll junk the All is Dust. We can't cast it. Done. We'll open up on double Leyline and have a Chalice on 0 on turn 1. If we drag the game on for a few turns, we will get to, play stuff. We should have, I think, 25 lands remaining in the deck. So we're very likely to hit land drops. Like so. Yeah, you know, I'm a teacher, so I get off earlier from work than everyone else. So I'm very happy to do the lifting in the early rounds of commentary. I just get tired towards the tail end of the broadcast. Like, when it's round 5 of the night and I'm up for commentary, those nights are like, ooh. I do want to commend you for how well you did with a lot of your matches when it got really late in your time zone. I know a couple of those days were you streaming till 3, 4 in the morning. Do you not have a Batman costume? Alright, so we get the choice of either Polluted Delta or Wishclaw Talisman here. And it's actually sort of interesting. I think I'm going to go ahead and name the Wishclaw Talisman. If my opponent has to use Chain of Vapor to bounce Sorcerous Spyglass first, leaving both of these things on the table, I think that's good for me. Yeah, so notice that my opponent still plays it out anyway. So this is only a soul land for Eldrazi spells, so if we want to play Thran Dynamo this turn, which, spoilers, we do, we need to play that out first. I mean, ignoring the costume, it does kind of, in some ways, seem like one of those white color identity things, right? It's like justice, 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 justice. Is vigilante justice still in White's wheelhouse? Delicious! Delicious, delicious Trinisphere. So this Chain of Vapor has so many problematic things to bounce. I'm guessing that at some point it bounces the Sorcerous Spyglass and maybe works towards getting my opponent... what's the big crash? Sacrifice 2 mountains, blow up 2 artifacts. Pulverize? They can work towards getting a Pulverize. The Chalice is interesting. So we can put Chalice on 1 to counter a Chain of Vapor, but it will not counter a copy of Chain of Vapor, I believe. So we can make our opponent see that, I guess. The other thing we can do is just put a Chalice on 2, and then that would stop Burning Wish or Infernal Tutor for the card that actually beats me. Pulverize all artifacts. Oh, it is destroy all artifacts. Oh, does Chain of Vapor happen upon copying happen upon resolution? Yes, it does happen on resolution. Alright, so this is done. That's 1. X is currently 1. Done. Oh yeah, I guess Pulverize is super awkward. Speaking of super awkward, Ratchet Bomb. Do I even cast that here? I don't Oh, that's weird. So normally I have 3, 4, 5, 6 mana towards normal spells. I think I'm going to take a turn to untap my Monolith to make my future draw steps better. But then I will play Ratchet Bomb and start ticking it up towards 2. Hey, that's like basically a Ratchet Bomb, but on a land. So I'll just play out Blast Zone instead now. And all my permanents shift around and do a little dance. Alright, can we cast that? I assume that we can cast this. 2, 3, 7 more. 4, 3 more. There's 3. 1, 2, 3. Play this, exile 2 artifacts. I think I go with just lands, yeah. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I miss the days of trading Magic cards. I used to be a big finance person, like went to events to grind cards instead of like actually playing in them. But those days are long since past. Where's my bully hat? I don't think I have a bully hat in this room. I think it's in the other room. Yeah, I think if you're a Magic player, you get to choose one of being a great financial person or a great player. I think it's very hard to do both of those at a high level. I spent so much time trading when I first started playing that it came at the expense of me playing more. All right. So just throwing it out there as we go into the final match here, we have received 1 sub today. If we get 2 more before the end of this match here, I'm going to stream another league later tonight after dinner. Otherwise, I'll be back tomorrow morning. What am I having for dinner? I think I'm making breakfast for dinner. So I think it's going to be hash browns, eggs, maybe something else. Wow, are we playing against yet another combo deck here? Boy, this hand's good against combo. So since I already have resolved a Chalice on 1, and I have a play for next turn already, I think I'm going to go ahead and cast this secondary Chalice on 0. Because against a lot of the decks that I'm playing, the second Chalice on turn 3 isn't nearly as impactful. But if I'm playing against a combo deck, and I just neuter their ability to play out like LEDs, Lotus Petals, and things of that nature, this is very strong here. So What are we afraid of right now? Soul Land Show and Tell into a fatty is bad. Nice. Well, we have another Soul Land for later anyway. Show me what you're working with. All right, we are playing against an Underworld Breach deck. We will take their Brain Freeze. Misplay from my opponent, I believe. I believe they should have Brain Freezed me in response to put that into the graveyard. Rokanatus, thank you very much for your support. One more sub tonight, or sorry, one more sub before the end of this match here, and I will run back another stream tonight. So thank you for that. Enjoy your Thalia emote, and thank you for your second month of support. Sorry, I just noticed that. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3 regular mana. I can go up to 4 regular mana now and cast Chalice of the Void on X equals 2 to shut off Underworld Breach as well. That should really put the nail in the coffin. Bajan, I'm really happy to hear that. Content creators say this a lot, but it means a lot when people say, hey, I'm learning this thing and you're helping me learn it. Ooh, that's a good question. What are we, like, the taxers? The cultists? The inquisitors? That's not bad either. Dr. Bill, thank you so much for gifting a sub to Stormthief248. That will get another stream tonight. Dr. Bill, in just a minute, I'm going to ask you to pick which one of the decks you want to see tonight from the queue. I will give you that perk. Dr. Bill is one of my longest-running supporters. And he always buys me food when we go out to eat together, even though I try to pay first, but he beats me to it. By the way, now that it's looking like I'm getting better, my girlfriend's getting sick now, though. But we should try to get together sometime soon. Grab some dinner or lunch or something like that. I believe my opponent has no outs and is just playing to see what I'm playing. Yay 11, thank you very much for your support as well. I hope you're enjoying the content. We'll consider. Kind of depends on, like, girlfriend's play schedule and which performance I end up going to. She does have a performance on Friday, but I may use that time to stream. All right, so for the billionth time this league, Leyline. Bro, get in here. Tormod's Crypt, you can come on in. What did we do with Ratchet Bomb last time around? Think about that. Transfer comes in. We'll probably Emrakul. Again, if opponent leaves in something like a Mentor or a Thassa's Oracle, The Emrakul isn't like a guaranteed win or anything, but if they sideboard sort of strangely and take that out, then it is a win condition. Alright, so Spyglass, not great. I think we cut our Ugins last time around. We cut our Walking Ballista. I feel like I cut a Caracas. And then I feel like I went after Manifold Key. Ratchet Bomb is good if it can tick up to 2, but that's a lot of time. And Ratchet Bomb on 2 has collateral damage in the form of my Grim Monolith. Probably doesn't do a ton on 0. I think I'd go without Ratchet Bomb. Yay. I think the matchup's good. I think if you are the, like, Leyline, Chalisphere, Thought Not Seer deck against the combo deck, that's a fine place to be. Veriest, one, I'm glad you enjoyed them. I obviously love making video content. It's one of my favorite things to do in my free time. I'm just glad you're enjoying them. This week has been one of my best weeks of Legacy content of all time. In that I've had the luxury of streaming so much. You know, this is my 5th day in a row of streaming. Tonight will be my 6th recorded league of the week. Tomorrow will be my 7th league of the week. And we've had fun with every single league, even when things have gone poorly. Alright, so first question of the day, what number is the Chalice going on? So I can put it on 0 to just prevent being comboed off in the immediate future. But since we have the ley lines in play, we can't get comboed off anyway. So I think I'm supposed to put it on 1 to eliminate cantrips and some bounce spells. So opponent now has 3 lock pieces that they would need to beat in order to win this game. So if opponent keeps this Ponder and they're smart, their best card will be on top of their library, not in their hand. So that's no shuffle there. I wonder if opponent was going like, man, should have kept that card on top with Ponder. By the way, I usually don't like self-plug my previous streams, because, you know, if you're around, you're probably watching my content. But if you didn't watch my Splinter Twin video from earlier in this week, that one is like 10 out of 10 stream. Some incredibly intricate lines against some great players. Ooh, force pitching a Brain Freeze. That's pretty valuable. So, like, not only did we get the 2-for-1 there, like, we took out a combo piece in process. So, very happy with our current situation. Okay. No plays this turn. I think we're going to go ahead and go with the Cloud Post this turn and set up for a potential win via something later. Best card for my opponent would probably be like an Echoing Truth that can get rid of both ley lines. Okay, my opponent has a Serenity. That gets rid of 2 ley lines. That's very good. So we won't play this into the Serenity. We'll play that a little bit later. Let's just play Thespian Stage and pass the turn. We'll use Thespian Stage to copy Cloud Post, and then we'll gain 3 life off a Glimmer Post and play our Dynamo. So opponent has 1 card. We are safe for now. Does not mean we will remain safe. But we have a lot of stellar draws. That is not one of them. So now all we're looking to draw is a win condition or lock piece. Either's fine. Alright, this is an interesting Chalice. Putting it on 0 or 2 would prevent my opponent from comboing off. Putting it on 1 does not prevent my opponent from comboing off, because it does not hit Brain Freeze, LED, or Breach, the 3 cards that they need to combo off. It also does not hit the alternate win condition of Thassa's Oracle. So I think 1 is actually relatively poor. It's fine in the short term, and if we had pressure, it might be okay to put it on 1. But I think I'm just going to stop the Breach itself. I sort of doubt that they're playing a second Serenity, so I think we're probably safe from most things. Anyone need some Cloud Posts? Asking for a friend. Alright, that seems good. Alright, how much mana do I have left? So these are tapping for... So I have 5, 10, 11, 16. I have lots of mana. Let's get an Emrakul. I technically shouldn't have shown them that. But I have Emrakul in my deck. Do you expect me to not cast it? Like, honestly? It also can't be countered, so that probably makes it the best thing to get in a vacuum anyway. Where are you at? Lattice. Alright. GG. Well played. Alright. So we end up with a 3-2 with Post. So, thoughts on the deck? Deck seems fine. The matchups that we saw today were heavily skewed towards combo. Breach is obviously very, very, very good right now. So Ugin, not really where you want to be against a deck like Breach. It doesn't impact their life total immediately, and destroying a permanent isn't really good. So Ugin did not look very hot today, and neither did Walking Ballista, but that doesn't mean that those cards are bad in this shell. We also did not... Actually, we never resolved either one of the Planeswalkers. We were very much just focused on the creature and lockpiece sides of our matchups today. So, MVP of the league, gotta go with Leyline of the Void. Very, very strong today. Super impressed by it. Outside of that, our Grim Monoliths and Thran Dynamos were pretty good today. We, again, never went ham with Manifold Key, but we had the potential to. Manifold Key was often getting trimmed in our sideboarded games. Very happy with the shell as it's presented here. Again, you can maybe tighten up the sideboard a little bit, and maybe my idea of playing Emrakul in the sideboard as an out to Brain Freeze is too ambitious. Like, my opponent seemed to have Thassa's Oracle in for the post-sideboard games, but I didn't mind having it, and we did use the Emrakul to win the entire match there, so that's fine. This is not the last 12-post content that you will see from me. Our anonymous donor also paid for me to make a primer. I'm having some website issues at the moment that I haven't fixed yet, so that will probably end up being a video primer. Probably record that later this weekend, maybe one evening next week, depending on what the weekend looks like. All right, Dr. Bill, this next portion is for you. So, we just did a 12-post stream. So of my remaining things in the queue here, which one would you like to see tonight? There's a slight lag time between when I'm talking and when chat hears everything. So I'm just going to keep talking to fill the air. Food chain, oh, okay, sorry. The food chain is a pending donation, so the donor has not actually paid me for that one yet. So, sorry, but choose again? Yeah, the potential donor emailed me yesterday and was asking a couple questions, and they sent me the deck list, but the dollar bills haven't arrived. Omnitel it is. All right, folks, I will probably be back somewhere between 6:30 and 7 o'clock p.m. tonight with Blue-Green Omniscience. Julian, if you're still here, I'm probably going to tag you on Twitter asking your thoughts on deck lists. I listened to your recent podcast, but I'm just curious if anything has changed since then. All right, folks, who can I turn you over? My friend Romario is streaming. So if you're enjoying Legacy content, I'll be back later tonight. But until then, I'm going to turn you over to Romario. Have a great rest of the afternoon, everyone.